Hi everyone, and welcome to the next video in the Magnuswatch series. Weekend Z is merely hours away now, and the eyes of the world are sure to be on Magnus Carlsen and every move he makes, both on and off the chessboard. I thought today we'd look at a game he played at the Chorus tournament in 2005 when he was 14 years old and playing in the B group against Predrag Nikolic, one of the leading Yugoslav players of all time, who had won the Chorus chess tournament in the past amongst several other massive tournaments and was rated 2670 at the time. Though only 14, Carlsen was already a fearsome competitor and rated well over 2500. He had white and opened with e4, to which Nikolic responded e6, which is the solid and dynamic, although sometimes cramped, French defense. Carlsen continued with the main line, d4, and Nikolic answered in suit with d5. And at this point, white has three main options. He can advance the pawn with e5, the advance variation, which establishes a pawn at e5 but is somewhat drawish nonetheless and gives black what he wants with queenside counterplay starting immediately with c5. Most top players agree that the best move is knight c3, inviting the winnower with bishop b4. But also playable and sound is knight d2, where bishop b4, a somewhat annoying move for white to meet in the knight c3 lines, can now be met with c3, and is thus essentially refuted, as white will almost definitely need to play this move anyway, and bishop b4 allows it with tempo. Karpov was very fond of this line, and it's enough for a safe advantage despite not being the most aggressive try from white. The best answer is what Nikolic played, an immediate c5, which challenges the white center straight away and aims, amongst other things, to open the game up early and prove that the knight is misplaced here on d2. Of course, we're still well within book lines. Carlsen continued with e takes d5, and after e takes d5, white has created a target to attack in the d5 pawn, which, due to the way that black has played, can now never be supported by another pawn. The isolated queen's pawn debate is unending in chess, with some claiming that it provides great dynamism and attacking chances because the side that has it has play down two files adjacent to the pawn if this c5 pawn wasn't here, and he also has outpost squares on e4 and c4 as a result. But others claim that the fact that this isolated pawn can be blockaded and turn into an endgame weakness is reason enough to avoid them at all costs. Historically, I've been aligned to the latter group, but in recent months my opinion has changed a little. But anyway, Carlsen now played knight gf3, supporting the d4 pawn, and Nikolic now made the somewhat controversial decision to advance his pawn with c4. Bishop d3 is a kind of standard move against the French, and this stops it, and it also makes his d5 pawn harder to attack quickly, but it has the downside of taking the pressure off the white position. Now Carlsen has a totally free hand to do whatever he wants, and not much to worry about. He's already ahead in development, so one could even argue against Nikolic's opening choice. To be fair, at the top level, grandmasters are playing to equalize with black, and that is probably almost achieved in this position already, but it's possible to play with greater energy than that displayed by Nikolic here. Carlsen challenged the black pawns immediately with b3, and this is another of the drawbacks of black playing c4, as unless he wants to play the badly weakening move b5, he's obliged to capture here, which he did. C takes b3. If instead b5, then a4, of course, is the right move. And It's a couple of problems for black. Obviously, he can't play a6 because of a takes b5, and this pressure between the rooks means there's no recapture. So c takes b3 and a takes b3, and white has succeeded in breaking down the black pawn center. He's gained 2 tempi along the way, and he has many attractive options available to him now. At this point, black may have well only played one move, the d5 push here. All else he's got to show for his development is these open squares on c7 and e7. Whereas white has 2 pieces already doing something, and this b3 push provides options for the bishop, and c4 is also possible. And, you know, overall it's definitely favorable to white. So Nikolic continued with bishop b4, pinning the knight here. And Carlsen was happy to secure a nicely posted piece on the 8th move of the game with knight e5. Nimzowitsch praises such centrally posted pieces throughout my system, especially knights, and it's always a pleasure to be able to play such a move. Nikolic continued with knight e7, and of course he can't play f6 to try and dislodge the knight, or queen h5 check is winning almost immediately. If g6, knight takes g6, exploiting this pin between the queen and the rook. So knight e7, and now bishop d3. Carlsen is happy to continue his development, and this is often a good posting for the bishop, although in this particular line it's not as strong as it could be. Generally, black will have pawns on e6 and d5. This bishop will be blocked in, and so the attacking power of this bishop is hard to neutralize for black. So Nikolic continued with knight b c6, challenges the c5 knight, and also puts some pressure on the d4 pawn. And Carlsen was confident enough to ignore this threat and simply castled here, which Fritz didn't like, now giving black a significant edge at close to a pawn. The point here is that he's now able to play bishop c3, and you know, this is going to win the d4 pawn because it's attacking the rook as well, and as well as the d4 pawn in conjunction with the knight. And you know, this is what he went for in the game, winning this d4 pawn. Another possibility was the immediate knight takes d4, which is playable, but white has good compensation after bishop b2 attacking the knight, and are also threatening c3. So bishop c5 is the correct move, and now queen h5. And you know, this stops black from castling because of the pressure on h7 from the queen and the bishop, and it gives him some issues to resolve. Another possibility, instead of bishop c3, was knight takes e5, d takes e5, and now bishop c3. It's going to win the e5 pawn. Say rook a2, bishop takes e5. But white again has good compensation after rook e1, bishop f6, and now again queen h5. And you know, it's unwise to go after pawns in the opening, and positions like this and one before it are good examples as to why. Nikolic, however, fancied a bit of pawn hunting, and he went about it in the soundest way. After Carlsen castled with bishop c3, and Carlsen played a rook a4, which, you know, at least put some pressure on d4. So after the bishop takes d4, you know, the rook has some pressure on the bishop, and this is the only sound way to continue. Knight takes d4 is refutable. If you want to try and spot how, then please stop the video now. Knight b1 is the move, because this attacks the bishop, and you know, it's the only piece defending the d4 knight, so black is going to lose a piece for 2 pawns after knight takes b3, where, you know, he may as well play this because he's losing the piece anyway. But actually best for white now is bishop b5 check. We see some of the strength of this knight. It's controlling d7, so there's no bishop d7. King f8, and now knight takes c3, knight takes c1, and now, much stronger than simply recapturing straight away, is queen h5, with pressure on f7, and black can capture on the next move if g6 and queen h6 check. And you know, this just gives white huge chances and probably a winning game. So bishop takes d4 is what Nikolic played. Okay, that's the end of part 1.